Hello class, welcome to Pre-Algebra Lesson 1-5, Day 1, which is all about operations with decimals. By the end of this lesson, you should be able to add, subtract, multiply, and divide decimals. Well, let's jump right in with adding decimals. So something you need to remember when you are adding or subtracting decimals is that you always need to stack your decimal places on top of each other. So what that means is they should be lined up straight up and down or vertically. Okay, so it would look something like this, where you have the decimal places right on top of each other. Now, when I did that, notice that I have more digits in the top number than the bottom number. If that happens, what you should do is just add some zeros in those places to help fill it up so that way you have the same number of digits on the top and bottom. Okay, so now I have 6 plus 0, 0 plus 1, 1 plus 4. So you can see I have 6, 1, 5, and then 3 plus 0 is 3, 2 plus 1 is 3. That means that my final answer is going to be 33.516. Or you could say it using the place value name. So 33 and 516 thousandths. Either way is fine with me, honestly. So now let's add 0.19 plus, and then I would line up my decimals again, 4.037. Now you can see I have an open space on the top, so I'm going to fill that in with a 0. And now I add like normal. 0 plus 7 is 7. 9 plus 3 is 12, so I carry the 1. 1 plus 1 is 2, plus 0 is 2. And then 0 plus 4 is 4. So my answer is going to be 4.227, or 4 and 227 thousandths. And that's going to be my final answer. So now that you've seen a couple of examples of adding decimals, go ahead and give it a shot. See what you get when you add 2.08 plus 4.9. Good luck! Hopefully for a final answer you got 6 and 98 hundredths, or 6.98. If you didn't get that, feel free to take a look at the work. If the work doesn't help you arrive at the correct answer or find your mistake, please be sure to reach out for some help. I'm happy to help you. Let's move on to subtracting decimals. So this is going to be the same exact idea. The only difference is now we are subtracting. So I'm going to have 5.08 minus 3.2. Notice I'm still stacking my decimals because I do that for addition and subtraction. I'm still filling in to have the same number of digits on top and bottom, so I added that 0 there, and now I subtract. So I'd say 8 minus 0 is 8. 0 minus 2 I cannot do, so I have to borrow. So that means I go to the digit to the left, which is a 5. I cross it off and make it 1 less, which is 4. And now I move back to that digit that was too small, so 0, and I add a 1 in front of it. So in this case, it's 10 now. So 10 minus 2 is 8. Bring down that decimal that I stacked, and then 4 minus 3 is 1. So my final answer for this problem is 1.88. Let's try another one. So now I have negative 3.65 plus 4.108. And you might be thinking, hey, you said we're subtracting on this slide. Well, what you can do is you can actually rewrite this problem just like we practiced with our integers, where if you have one positive, one negative, you can rewrite it as a subtraction problem. So I'm going to actually have 4.108 minus 3.65. So again, I'm going to fill in and make the same number of digits on the bottom as I have on the top, and now I subtract like normal. 8 minus 0 is 8. 0 minus 5 I cannot do, so I borrow from that 1, becomes a 0, and then this 0 becomes a 10. 10 minus 5 is 5. Now I have 0 minus 6. I can't do that either, so again I borrow from the digit to the left. So 4 becomes 3, and then this 0 becomes a 10. 10 minus 6 is 4. I bring that decimal down. 3 minus 3 is 0. So I have 0.458 as my answer. If you have questions about that, please be sure to reach out for some help, but go ahead and try solving this one on your own. Good luck. Hopefully with this problem you ended up at 2.29. If not, please be sure to check that work and ask for some help. I am happy to help you. Let's move on to multiplying decimals. So now we have 3.6 times 0.8. When you are multiplying or dividing decimals, you do not need to line up your decimals, okay? In this very first example, you'll see that these decimals actually do line up. That's not always going to happen, and it does not have to happen, okay? So now what we are going to do is we're going to multiply, ignoring the decimals for now, okay? So 8 times 6 is 48, so I write the 8, and then I carry the 4. 8 times 3 is 24, plus 4 is 28, so I would write 28. Now I look and I see it's just a 0 in front of that decimal point, so I don't actually have to multiply anything by 0 because anything times 0 is just 0. So I know my final answer is going to be 288, but I have to figure out where is my decimal going to go. The way I do that is I count how many numbers are behind the decimal point to begin with. So I have 1 here, and I have a second one here. That means I need 2 numbers behind the decimal point. So 2 numbers to the right of the decimal point gives me my final answer of 2.88. Let's try another one. This time I have 2.94 times 1.3. You can see this time the decimal places don't line up, and that is perfectly fine. Okay, so now I'm going to do 3 times 4, which is 12. I carry that 1. 3 times 9 is 27, plus 1 is 28, so I carry the 2. 3 times 2 is 6, plus 2 is 8. Okay, so I've used those digits. I'm just going to cross them off to make it easier for my brain. Now I go to my second line of multiplication, and whenever you move down a line, you have to add a 0. So in this case, I would have 0, and now I multiply. So 1 times 4 is 4, 1 times 9 is 9, and 1 times 2 is 2. And I get to add at this point. So 2 plus 0 is 2, 8 plus 4 is 12, 1 plus 8 is 9, plus 9 is 18, 1 plus 2 is 3. Okay, so I know my final answer is going to have a 3, 8, 2, 2, and I just have to figure out where on earth am I going to put my decimal. So I see I have 1, 2, 3 numbers that are behind the decimal place for this one. So my final answer is going to be 3.822. Okay, if you have questions about that, please be sure to ask for some help. I'm happy to help you. Why don't you go ahead and try this problem on your own? Good luck. All right, for this problem, hopefully you saw we had a positive times a negative, so you knew that your final answer was going to be a negative number. And then when you multiply 1.64 times 3, you get 492. And then there are 2 digits that are behind the decimal point, so that means that our answer would be a negative 4.92. If you have questions about that, please be sure to reach out for some help. I'm happy to help you. And now let's look at dividing decimals. So I'm going to move that off to the side just so we have a little more room to write. You can see I have negative 5.76 divided by 0.3. So a negative divided by a positive, remember, is always going to be a negative answer. So I'm going to ignore the negative for this portion, and I'm going to include that in my final answer. Okay, so you take that first number, 5.76, and that's going to go under the house when it comes to our long division. And then that second number is what goes outside the house. Okay, so I have 0.3 on the outside, 5.76 on the inside. We do not like having decimals outside of the house, so I have to move it one place to the right. And if you move the decimal on the outside, you have to move it the same number of spaces on the inside, even if that means you have to add some zeros in as placeholders. Okay, so I'm going to rewrite this problem now. So instead of writing 0.3, I'm just going to write 3 because the decimal's after it now. And then instead of writing 5.76, I'm going to write 57.3. 0.6 because I moved it that one space. And now I divide like normal. I say, how many times can 3 go into 5 without going over? That would be 1 time. And 3 times 1 is 3. So subtracting 5 minus 3, I get 2. That's when you bring down your next number. In this case, it's a 7. And I say 3 times what gives me 27? 3 times 9. So 3 times 9 is actually 27. It won't always be a perfect match with that second number, just so you know. 27 minus 27 is going to be 0. So then I bring down that 6 and I say 3 times what gives me 6? That would be 2. So 3 times 2 is 6, and you can see that works out perfectly. I am all done with that. So I know my answer is going to have a 192. It's also going to have a negative. And now with division, you just bring that decimal point straight up from inside the house. So it's going to go between that 9 and the 2. So my answer for this problem is going to be negative 19.2. I know long division can be a little confusing and you might need a lot of help with it. If you feel like that is you, reach out for help. I am here to help you, okay? We can go through some of these in class. Why don't you go ahead and try this last problem on your own? Good luck. All right, for this problem, hopefully you ended up at negative 720. You'll see that moving that decimal 2 places meant that we actually got rid of the decimal altogether, and a negative divided by positive is still negative. So you can see that I had negative 720. If you have questions about that or anything else from this video, please be sure to reach out for some help. I am happy to help you. Have a great day.